Wilshire to redevelop the Grand Lucayan Resort. Meanwhile, St. Kitts and Nevis's fiscal deficit jumps to 11% of GDP amid CBI revenue drop, says the IMF. And Grace Kennedy revenue increased by Jamaican $1.87 billion in the first quarter of 2025. And internationally, the Eurozone recorded a historic trade surplus of 36.8 billion euros in March of this year. Meanwhile, U.S. housing market shows mixed trends in April amid a drop in building permits. And U.S. inflation expectations surge to multi-decade high as consumer sentiment plunges. Please stay with us. The news in detail right after our first break.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Mikey, is what sweet you saw?
Yeah, dear babes. Where's the Cathy? Me and you go party tonight.
Party? You secure your future yet? Careless.
Did you know that over time the stock market has provided a reliably high return on investments? Be sure to contact a licensed stockbroker for more information on this exciting investment opportunity.
Taking care of business, Mikey?
Yeah, Cathy. I'm securing my future. Want to come look over my stock portfolio?
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
I'm trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
I'm also trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
Start a conversation with the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Check jamstockx.com for information and a list of registered stockbrokers. You can also call the Jamaica Stock Exchange at 876-967-3271 for information on how to begin. I am achieving my financial goals.
I'm achieving my financial goals.
Okay, I just sent the money. I'll WhatsApp you the tracking number.
Thanks, Daddy. I can't wait to buy that PS5.
Listen to me. Your birthday money is not just for spending. Remember what I told your mom? Remember to open the bank account immediately after collecting the money. Your mom has her ID, TRN, proof of address, proof of income, and your school ID.
I'm not an adult yet, so Mommy will have to open the account with me.
Yes. Anyways, I'm headed back to work, so call me later. I love you guys.
This financial literacy tip is brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, promoting financial inclusion. For more information, visit our BOJ Real Talk playlist on our YouTube channel.
Serious about building Jamaica? Build with solid PVC pipes and conduits, manufactured in Jamaica by Phosphate, made to the highest standard. Solid PVC pipes and conduits are made in Jamaica by Jamaicans for Jamaicans. Available at hardware stores across the island. Take some solid advice, support our economy, and build well. Buy solid PVC pipes. Next time, ask for solid brand PVC pipes and conduits. Call our distributors or Phosphate at 876-937-5099.
Me grew up and see my granny and save her money under her mattress.
Exactly. Your grandmother house never burned down?
No, how you reach this, so? That was a one-off thing.
That could have happened to anybody. That's why you must put your money in a financial institution and protect it.
What if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in.
What you mean?
JDIC is a financial safety net which provides coverage for your money in case your financial institution fails.
Explain that to me.
Alright, because of the JDIC deposit insurance scheme, once you put your money into a financial institution like a bank or building society, you can get coverage of up to a maximum of $1.2 million per deposit of your financial institution if it should fail. And for even more information, you can visit their new website at www.jdic.org, and you can follow the social media platforms for the latest information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading. Better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. And now the details of CBX Business News. The All Jamaica Consumer Price Index CPI for April 2025 declined by 0.4% when compared to March 2025. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin on Thursday said the largest contributor to this downward movement was a 1.4% fall in the index of the Housing, Water, Electricity, Gas and Other Fuels division. The decline in the division was driven by a 4% reduction in the index of the group Electricity, Gas and Other Fuels, resulting from lower electricity rates. The index for the heaviest weighted division, Food and Non-Alcoholic Beverages, fell by 0.5%. This fall, Statin says, was mainly attributed to a 2.8% decline in the index for the class Vegetables, Tubers, Plantains, Cooking Bananas and Pulses, due to lower prices for agricultural produce such as yam, Irish potato, cabbage, and sweet pepper. Tempering these downward movements in the CPI for April was a 0.4% increase in the index of the Health Division. This was primarily due to higher costs for prescription medication. Meanwhile, Statin reported that the point-to-point inflation rate for April 2024 to April 2025 was 5.3%. This was influenced mainly by increases in the index for the divisions Food and Non-Alcoholic Beverages 7.5%, Housing, Water, Electricity, Gas and Other Fuels 6.1%, Restaurants, Accommodation Services 6.2%. The Consumer Price Index CPI measures changes in the general level of prices for consumer goods and services purchased by private households. Jamaica's Business Ministry, the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, MIIC, welcomed members of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, TTMA Trade Mission, to a special Doing Business in Jamaica seminar earlier this week, underscoring the country's commitment to regional trade investment and economic cooperation. In her address to the delegation at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in Kingston, Permanent Secretary in the MIIC, Sancia Bennett Templar, highlighted Jamaica's remarkable economic turnaround and reinforced the government's dedication to fostering a modern, business-friendly environment for local and international investors. Bennett Templar says that they are pleased to facilitate this engagement, which reflects the importance of deepening ties between Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. South-to-South trade is not optional, it is indispensable, and this mission presents a timely opportunity to unlock new avenues for mutual growth, she added. 18 Trinidad and Tobago-based companies spanning industries such as construction, logistics, technology, and manufacturing participated in the mission, which included visits to both Kingston and Montego Bay. The seminar featured presentations from key Jamaican agencies, including the Jamaica Customs Agency, Public Procurement Commission, Bureau of Standards Jamaica BSJ, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. It forms part of a wider trade mission designed to deepen commercial ties and explore investment prospects across both territories. For a second consecutive day and the third time this week, the Bank of Jamaica BOJ intervened in the foreign exchange market, offering for sale US $30 million to authorized dealers and select cambios through a B-Fix-It flash auction. Today's intervention followed one on Thursday and the other on Tuesday of the same sale amount. BOJ says successful institutions include National Commercial Bank, which was allotted US $6 million, JMMB Bank, which received US $3 million, followed by JN, Sagicor, and First Global Banks, which received US $2.55 million, $2.55 million, and $2 million, respectively. Successful cambios include JMB Securities receiving US $3.75 million, Grace Kennedy Currency Trading Services US $3.1 million, Burrito Investments and Mayberry Investments receiving US $2.5 million and US $2.2 million, respectively. And the intervention from the BOJ today had a positive effect on the foreign exchange market, as at the end of trading, the US dollar is selling for $159.16, the Canadian for $115.21, and the pound sterling for $211.70. The going rate for the euro is $179.23. Up next, trading news from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 107 stocks traded on the JSE Friday, of which 40 advanced, 51 declined, and 16 traded firm. Today's winners were led by Iron Rock Insurance Company, MFS Capital, Mayberry Group, and 138 Student Living Jamaica Variable Preference, while leading the losers were KLE Group, JFP Limited, One Great Studio Company, and Margaritaville Turks. The main index advanced by 1,275.19 points, or 0.40%, to close at 323,655.85. The junior market index also advanced, but by 49.08 points, or 1.45%, to close at 3,441.44. Now to some company news. Sagicor Jamaica generated net profits attributable to stockholders of approximately $4 billion, or $1.02 per share during the first quarter of this year, representing an increase of 296% over the net profits of $1 billion, or 26 cents per share, recorded during the similar period of the previous year. The return on equity, shareholding capital plus retained earnings and reserves was 15%, compared with 4% during the first quarter of 2024. Sagicor's president and CEO Christopher Zaka says the big improvement in the company's profitability was driven by a 14% increase in insurance revenues and the net profit of $2.35 billion recorded by its long-term insurance business. And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by Carrie Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. In today's Market Education Feature, we're taking a closer look at the term that has been making headlines in international news: business uncertainty. Business uncertainty refers to situations where businesses face risks that cannot be easily predicted or measured. During such periods, it becomes difficult for companies to forecast their performance due to unprecedented or rapidly changing events. This uncertainty can be driven by shifts in the political, technological, economic, or environmental landscape, such as new regulations, technological breakthroughs, data breaches, or natural disasters. A prime example is the year 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic brought about unexpected disruptions across global economies and industries, making it exceptionally challenging for businesses to plan or operate with confidence. The Market Education Feature was brought to you by Carrie Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for Market Education Feature and the end of the local segment. Please come back with us. The regional business news is up next.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Introducing the Corporate Services Unit, your go-to experts for corporate secretarial solutions. We offer statutory compliance, efficient minute taking, registered office address services, management of board and members meetings, setup and maintenance of corporate registers. Stay ahead with our proactive approach to new regulations. We operate under the Trust and Corporate Service Provider, licensed to the JCSD Trustee Services Limited. We're here to simplify your corporate journey, no matter the size of your company. Contact the Corporate Service Unit today and let's streamline your compliance journey together, because your success is our business.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Welcome back. Now to news from across the region. The government of the Bahamas has signed a heads of agreement with US-based investment firm Concord Wilshire Capital, totaling $827 million for the redevelopment of the iconic Grand Lucayan Resort in Freeport. The deal, heralded as a potential game changer for Grand Bahama's economy, outlines a large-scale multi-phase transformation of the resort into a fully integrated, modern tourism destination. Speaking at the official signing ceremony on Thursday, President of Concord Wilshire Capital, Nate Sirang, described this undertaking as a powerful economic resort engine.
What we're creating and developing here is really one powerful economic resort engine with 7 different integrated cylinders. I'll allow my team to go through each of these components with you in detail a little later. But in short, in order for us to ignite these different 7 cylinders, we need to control, finance, and integrate 7 different resort elements. First, a 35-acre cruise ship destination resort open to all cruise lines, local residents, and hotel guests. And second, a 25,000 square foot indoor and outdoor poolside casino.
President of Concord Wilshire Capital, Nate Sirang. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Philip Davis says this phased redevelopment is expected to generate more than 3,000 jobs, including 1,320 during construction and 1,750 permanent positions once the resort is fully operational.
This is no small undertaking. This is an investment of $827 million and perhaps much more. The kind of scale that has the power to shift the local economy, create opportunity at every level, and change lives for the better. More than 1,800 jobs will be created during the construction, and about 1,750 permanent jobs when the development is fully up and running.
According to the Prime Minister, this resort will prioritize employment for Bahamians.
Thousands of Bahamians will have an opportunity to earn, to grow, and to build a future for themselves and their families right here at home. We have said clearly, Bahamians must be at the center of this. And at least 80% of these jobs must go to our people. That's not just a condition, it's a conviction. Because we know the skill is here, the talent is here, the work ethic is here. What's been missing is opportunity.
That was Bahamas Prime Minister Philip Davis. St. Kitts and Nevis's fiscal deficit surged to 11% of GDP in 2024, driven largely by a sharp decline in citizenship by investment (CBI) revenues. That's according to the latest report from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. In its Article 4 consultation, the IMF Executive Board attributed the drop in CBI inflows to recent reforms, aimed at improving the transparency and governance of the program, which has traditionally been a key source of government income. According to the IMF, the country's post-pandemic economic rebound is now facing headwinds. Real GDP growth slowed to 1.5% in 2024, reflecting weaker performances in tourism and government services. Inflation, however, eased to 1%, offering some relief to households. The report also highlighted a widening current account deficit linked to the reduced CBI revenues. Despite these fiscal and external challenges, credit growth picked up, particularly in the mortgage sector, fueled by pent-up demand and increased competition among lenders. In other news, Grace Kennedy Limited, GK, has reported a solid start to 2025 with a Jamaican $1.87 billion increase in revenue for the first quarter when compared to the same period last year. For the 3 months ended March 31, 2025, the group recorded revenues of Jamaican $44.22 billion, reflecting a 4.4% rise year over year. Profit before tax, PBT, grew slightly by 0.4% to 3.16 billion Jamaican dollars, while net profit after tax was Jamaican 2.31 billion, representing an increase of 0.4% or $9.27 million. Net profit attributable to stockholders climbed 3% to $2.2 billion, while earnings per share, EPS, rose to $2.25, up from $2.18 in Q1 last year. In its unaudited interim report, GK highlighted the resilience of its food segment, which outperformed the prior year despite softer demand and global trade tensions. Growth was driven by domestic and international operations, including Grace Foods and Services in Jamaica and Grace Kennedy Foods USA, which saw notable sales from its Grace and Lafay brands. The group also completed the acquisition of the remaining 30% stake in Catherine Speak Bottling Company, bolstering its position in Jamaica's bottled water market. The financial services arm, Grace Kennedy Financial Group, delivered increased revenues and profits, supported by gains in motor and property insurance portfolios and an expanded loan book at First Global Bank. However, the money services division faced decline in profits due to lower remittance activity in Guyana and TNT. Despite this, Grace Kennedy maintained growth in Jamaica, its largest remittance market. Now, the company's digital wallet platform, GK1, continued to lead Jamaica's remittance space, offering expanded capabilities such as bill payments and international transfers. Plans are in motion to introduce the app in the Cayman Islands, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago by year-end. Grace Kennedy also reaffirmed its commitment to shareholder value with the announcement of a Jamaican 52 cents per share dividend payable on June 20 this year, amounting to approximately Jamaican $516 million. Now to trading news from the TTSE. 17 securities traded on the TTSE on Friday, of which 6 advanced, 2 declined, and 9 traded firm. Leading the winners were Scotiabank TNT, Grace Kennedy, First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, and Unilever Caribbean, while the 2 losers were Massey Holdings and Prestige Holdings. Other results include the All TNT Index advancing by 10.37 to close at 1,526.94. The Composite Index advancing by 6.72 to close at 1,043.91. And the Cross-Listed Index advanced by 0.39 to close at 73.77. And still remaining at 91.85 is the SME Index. And that's it for regional business news. But please, we go for a short break. When we return, Rondine Williams will have our international news segment.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
I'm trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
I'm also trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
Start a conversation with the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Check jamstockx.com for information and a list of registered stockbrokers. You can also call the Jamaica Stock Exchange at 876-967-3271 for information on how to begin. I am achieving my financial goals.
I'm achieving my financial goals.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. And now for the international business news. The Eurozone recorded a historic trade surplus of 36.8 billion euros in March 2025, a significant increase from 22.8 billion euros in the same month last year. This surge was driven by a sharp rise in exports, particularly to the United States, where buyers accelerated orders ahead of anticipated tariffs. Export from the Eurozone soared by 13.6% year-on-year to reach a record 279.8 billion euros, while imports grew at a slower pace of 8.8%, totaling 243 billion euros. Across the broader European Union, the trade surplus widened to 35.3 billion euros, up from 22.3 billion euros a year earlier. EU exports rose 15.2% to 254.8 billion euros, led by strong performances in chemicals, machinery, and vehicle and food and drink. Exports to the United States surged by 59.5%, with notable increases also seen in shipments to Switzerland and the United Kingdom. On the import side, the EU brought in 219.5 billion euros worth of goods, marking a 10.4% increase. Key imports growth areas included food and drink, chemicals, and raw materials imported from several major partners, including China, the US, and the UK. And we go now to news from the United States. The U.S. housing market showed mixed signals in April 2025 as housing starts rebounded modestly while building permits fell sharply, reflecting ongoing challenges from high mortgage rates and material costs. Housing starts rose 1.6% month over month to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.361 million, recovering from a steep 10.1% decline in March. The increase was driven by a strong 11.1% jump in multi-unit construction, which reached 420,000 units. However, single-family starts, the core of the housing market, fell 2.1% to 927,000 units. Regionally, starts climbed in the south and northeast, but starts climbed in the south and northeast, but declined in the Midwest and West. In contrast, building permits, a leading indicator of future construction, dropped 4.7% to an annualized rate of 1.412 million, the lowest level in nearly a year and below market expectations. This marks the steepest decline since March 2024. Single-family permits fell 5.1% to 922,000, the weakest since mid-2023, while multifamily permits declined 4.4% to 431,000. Permits fell sharply in the South and Midwest, but rose in the Northeast and West. The data highlighted a housing market under pressure from elevated borrowing costs and tariffs on imported materials, which are dampening new project approvals even as some construction activities pick up. And still with the news from the US. Inflation expectations in the United States surged in May 2025, reaching levels not seen in decades, according to preliminary data from the University of Michigan's consumer survey. One-year inflation expectations jumped to 7.3%, the highest since November 1981, marking the sixth consecutive monthly increase. Meanwhile, the five-year outlook rose to 4.6%, the steepest since March 1991. At the same time, consumer sentiments deteriorated sharply. The University of Michigan Sentiment Index fell to 50.8 in May, down from 52.2 in April, and well below market forecasts of 53.4. This marks the fifth straight monthly decline and the second lowest reading on record, only above the June 2022 low. Both components of the index weakened. Current conditions dropped to 57.6 from 59.8, and expectations fell to 46.5 from 47.3. Consumers reported worsening personal finances, with nearly a 10% decline in assessments due to the falling incomes. Concerns over tariffs also intensified, with nearly 75% of respondents spontaneously mentioning trade policy, up from 60% in April, highlighting growing concerns about the economic outlook. And we go now to trading news. Galaxy Digital, the crypto-focused financial services firm founded by Mike Novogratz, officially launched trading on the Nasdaq under the ticker GLXY, opening at $23.50 per share. The move marks a major milestone for the company, which had been listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange since 2020. The U.S. listing was completed through a direct listing process, concluding a lengthy and costly regulatory journey. According to Novogratz, the process with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, spanned 1,320 days and cost the firm over $25 million. In an interview with CNBC, Novogratz highlighted Galaxy's strategic focus on two high-growth sectors: cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence. These are the most powerful themes for the era, he said, signaling the company's commitment to technology shaping the future of finance and innovation. Financially, Galaxy Digital entered the Nasdaq with a price-to-earning ratio of 33.47, trailing 12 months, and a book value per share of €11.54, reflecting strong investor interest and solid fundamentals. The Nasdaq debut is expected to enhance Galaxy's visibility among U.S. investors and reinforce its position at the intersection of digital assets and emerging technologies. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. Please do stay with us, because when we return, the news recap is on the other side of the break.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Serious about building Jamaica? Build with solid PVC pipes and conduits, manufactured in Jamaica by Phosphate, made to the highest standard. Solid PVC pipes and conduits are made in Jamaica by Jamaicans for Jamaicans. Available at hardware stores across the island. Take some solid advice, support our economy, and build well. Buy solid PVC pipes. Next time, ask for solid brand PVC pipes and conduits. Call our distributors or Phosphate at 876-937-5099.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Welcome back. And now a recap of the stories making today's CBX Evening News. Jamaica's inflation drops 0.4% in April, Statin reports. And BOJ intervened in the foreign exchange market for the third time this week. In regional business news, the Bahamian government signs a $827 million deal with Concord, Wilshire for Grand Lucayan Resort redevelopment. And St. Kitts and Nevis's fiscal deficit jumps to 11% of gross domestic product. And internationally, Eurozone records a trade surplus of €36.8 billion in March, and U.S. inflation expectations surge to multi-decade high. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Rondine Williams and the entire production team, I'm Yanil Wood, thanking you for joining us and wishing for you a wonderful weekend, and please keep safe on our roads.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down 5.
Hi, I'm Katrina Grant de Aguilar from the Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union League on behalf of the Credit Unions of Jamaica, and you're watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
Introducing the Corporate Services Unit, your go-to experts for corporate secretarial solutions. We offer statutory compliance, efficient minute taking, registered office address services, management of board and members meetings, setup and maintenance of corporate registers. Stay ahead with our proactive approach to new regulations. We operate under the Trust and Corporate Service Provider, licensed to the JCSD Trustee Services Limited. We're here to simplify your corporate journey, no matter the size of your company. Contact the Corporate Service Unit today, and let's streamline your compliance journey together, because your success is our business.
You're watching CBX Caribbean Business Exchange. Your region, your business, your source.